Jai Gurudev. Jai Gurudev Rugmaniji.
Jai Gurudev, Digvijay.
We have Rugmaniji with us today. Rugmaniji is head of our Sustainable Development Department. And Rugmaniji, this is an initiative where we are recording Guru stories of Art of Living senior teachers and people who are contributing to this movement. And so many senior teachers have come. So many senior teachers came on this platform, and we got to learn so much about Gurudev, about various initiatives of Art of Living, and from their own personal experiences.
I think before we are anything else in the organization, we are really first devotees. And when I thought about it, I said, now, what is it that I'm going to start talking to you about? I said, why not start with a Guru story? Yes?
Yeah, that will be wonderful.
Okay, so this must have been about sometime in 2015-16, and it was my birthday. And Gurudev happened to be in the ashram for my birthday, which doesn't always happen for all of us. It's not always that Gurudev is there on our birthday, but this birthday he happened to be there. So I took an appointment, and very excitedly, I was marching up to Ganga to go and meet Gurudev. And while marching up, I was thinking to myself, now, like a devotee, now, what is it Gurudev is going to give me? What is it that he's going to do to surprise me? Yeah, I mean, a devotee has a right to ask these questions. In my mind, I was asking these questions, and I was marching up to Ganga. So entered Ganga and sitting on the side, and Gurudev was informed that it was my birthday. So he said, Rugmani's birthday. So what shall we give Rugmani? So he walked, and then there was a huge garland. So he put the garland on me, and then he walked up and down as if he was thinking. And then he slowly went up to his cupboard, and he opened the cupboard, and he took out his sari. He gave it to me and said, your favorite color. Like this is the sari. He gave it to me and said, your favorite color. He said, your favorite color. Yeah? Something. I thought to myself, oh my God, Gurudev knows my favorite color. That evening when I went back, I asked my husband, what is my favorite color? He looked at me. I called my children. I said, what is my favorite color? They looked at me. See, this is not a color that I normally wear. And even if you look in my wardrobe, there are all colors, earth shades. And to the ashram, I wear pastels. So there was no way that there was nothing to indicate that this was my favorite color, And, Digvijay, for the rest of the year, all I could think was Gurudev even knew my favorite color. Yeah, that is the extent to which Gurudev knows you. Was I surprised? I was more than surprised. I was overwhelmed. That day I was crying all day, just thinking, oh my God, Gurudev knows my favorite color. That is the degree to which a guru knows his devotee. And it's still one of my favorite stories. And I thought I'll start with this because, Gurudev knows your favorite color. Yeah.
So true. Maybe he knows us more than we know ourselves.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. For that, there is no doubt how much we really know about ourselves. When he meets us, there's
how was your life before Art of Living? Like in what situations you joined and how you did your first course?
Okay. Starting with my early life, I grew up in a privileged background. My father was an international banker. We lived in Hong Kong and Singapore. Had a wonderful life. We moved back to India when I was in middle school. And at that point, my father, very soon after he retired, we were born very late into his life. So by the time we were in school, my father was retiring. And what happened then was my father went into depression. And overnight, I had to grow up because I was still in school in standard 10. I had to grow up because my father had gone into depression. My mother couldn't handle that. There were family responsibilities. So my parents became my children. And it was an entire, from the privileged background that we had moved into another world altogether, where there was a lot of sadness and unhappiness in the house. But grace always followed me, because whatever I did, there was so much protection. So I went into college, did extremely well in college, participated in all kinds of activities, went into, when I finished, I became a journalist, and a very successful journalist, did a lot of good work, did some really amazing work. My career took off very well. Then I met Prabhakarji, we got married, we had children. So there's a lot of grace protecting the entire thing. And at that point, we also moved to Muscat, and we were living in Muscat. And on one holiday, I came home, and my father, he was sitting with me, and he would make me go through his accounts over and over again, say that, son, if anything happened to me, you'll have to take care of mummy. And so I would help him with his accounts. We didn't realize that actually his depression had become worse. The night before I was going to leave to Muscat, I was resting, and suddenly there was a loud sound, and the watchman of the building that we were living in called my name. And when I went out and I looked, my father had jumped from the 5th floor. Digvijay, till then, this always happened to somebody else, not even somebody we knew. It happened to somebody in a story in a newspaper, but it was not the kind of life that we had any idea that we would be heading towards. And soon after, my mother had a stroke, and 10 months later, she passed away. And our lives changed. Lives were never the same again after that. Today there's so much therapy and so much counseling. This must have happened about 28, 29 years ago. Those days there was absolutely nothing. And after the cremations were over, I went back to Muscat, and life went on. But something, you begin to live your life in parallel. There is life moving in a particular direction with your responsibilities of the day, and you do what you have to do. You smile, you laugh. But inside, parallelly, there is the pain line that becomes a part of your life. Yeah, because there are so many unresolved issues, and life is moving. So I thought that was going to be life. This was unresolved. I mean, how do you resolve something like this now or ever? At that point, a nephew of mine, he was in his 30s. By which time we had moved to Dubai. From Muscat, we had moved to Dubai. A nephew of mine, he told me, he was in his 30s, married, worked with Oracle, extremely successful, working in Dubai. And he told me, how could your father do something like this to your mother? Why did he do something like this to your mother? And Digvijay, one Friday, we were all doing sadhana in the morning. And we got a call saying this nephew of mine had jumped off from the 20th floor of the World Trade Center in Bangalore, in Dubai. It was absolutely bizarre. My father was still going through depression. We could understand why he did what he did. But when my nephew went through it had put our entire family into utter sadness, confusion. Nobody even knew what to think of it. And we moved on. Parallel lives, life that you're leading, and the parallel line of pain that became the existence as these bizarre events began to happen in our lives. And then in 1997, I was visiting my sister who lived on Kanakpura Road in Bangalore. Children were small, and in the evening we said, why don't we just take a drive down Kanakpura Road? And we drove down Kanakpura Road, and we came through this little board that said the Art of Living Ashram. So I told my sister, let's go in and have a look. So we went in, and Prashant Rajoriji, he was sitting there, young boy, beard, no beard, very sweet face. And I asked him what this was all about. And he said, Art of Living, breathing techniques, meditation, good for health. And he gave me the entire spiel that we all know. And I said, he said, why don't you come and do the course? So I said, I've got small children. I won't be able to do the course. And at which point my sister said, just look at his face. It's so peaceful. I'll take care of the children and you do the course. That's how I did the first Art of Living Part 1 course. it was something else. When I did the course, I thought to myself, if my parents had this knowledge, they would not have died the way they did. If my nephew had this knowledge, he would not have died the way he did. And after that, there was no looking back. I knew that this was my path. Then Prashant Rajoriji told me, why don't you come and do the advanced course? So I stayed on and did the advanced course. So incredibly beautiful. In that silence, happiness, I felt happiness that overwhelmed from me was something that I never experienced my entire life. And I found myself laughing, laughter just coming up from inside me. And then met Gurudev for the first time. I'm a journalist. I was a journalist at that point. And I looked at him. I've interviewed heads of governments, heads of corporations, the VIPs from all over the world. And I looked at Gurudev and said, I've never met or seen anybody as wise or simple as Gurudev. And I felt an attraction. And during advanced course, when he had come for satsang, he was talking about how entire life is consciousness. And we're like the shell of a turtle. Yeah, consciousness moves in and out of us, but that's all we are. We're just the shell. And I remember getting up to him and saying, Gurudev, this is the part, we call him Guruji, then Guruji, this is the part that I liked very much. The fact that we're all just shells in this ocean of consciousness. And when I went back to Dubai, I received a call from the ashram saying that Gurudev has asked you to start courses in Dubai. Until that point, not a single course had happened anywhere in the Gulf or Middle East. So I thought to myself, yeah. The first courses happened, we organized. So I thought to myself, this is completely amazing. This is exactly what the country needed. A little earlier, I had done an article on happiness in Dubai and met a lot of people and asked them, are you happy? And they would all say, we're satisfied. There was a lot of material fulfillment there, obviously. They would say, we're satisfied, we're content, but nobody said they were happy. So I thought to myself, I can take the happiness course to Dubai. There would be no greater value than bringing happiness to the people of Dubai. So Gurudev said, Rishi Nitya Pragya home then, young boy, very smart, very charismatic. And he came and stayed at home with us and we organized the first course. It was so nice because even now when I tell students in my course, do you have 5 people who trust you? If you have 5 people, invite them for the next course. So at that point, I invited 30 people for the first course and 30 people trusted me. And 30 people came for the first course. And the course was amazing. So you know how Rishi Nitya Pragya is. From the first course, he created not 60 people, but 120 people. And it went on and on and on. And we thought he would come into one course and leave because we had never done this kind of, this was in 1997. So meditation, Om chanting, all this never happened in Dubai. It was a different culture at that point. And we started receiving calls saying that, you're going to be deported. You're not doing something right. And we told Rishi Nitya Pragya and he would say, yeah, absolutely. And the next course, he would announce another course after that. So it went on. And I think finally we called Gurudev and Gurudev said, okay, now you come back. Yeah. And he went back. And, he wouldn't let go of me. He would call me and say, you have to come and do an advanced course. So I would see, by which time I was hooked. So I said, where do I come and do an advanced course? He says, go to Rishikesh and do the international course because you'll relate more to the internationals coming to Rishikesh. So went to Rishikesh and to the shock of my life, there I was in a bus full of white people, art of living people from different parts of the world, wearing red tikkas and malas and singing bhajans. And I thought to myself, oh God, where on earth have I landed? This is not something in our whole life, like we had no guru in our life. There was no spiritual practice as such. There was no religious organization. This is completely alien. Anyway, went to Rishikesh, and Rishikesh was transforming in several ways. When I got there, Rishi Nitya Pragya took me to meet Gurudev. And I sat in front of Gurudev like this. And I complained and complained and complained about Rishi Nitya Pragya. Rishi Nitya Pragya had his head down, but I'm sure he had a big smile on his face because I'm sure his side conversation would have already happened with Gurudev. And Gurudev listened to me and I said, Gurudev, I thought if you come to spirituality, there will be peace. I told him, I've gone to some of these Ramakrishna ashrams and seen those women sitting there meditating. I said, I thought that's what was going to happen to me. But instead, ever since I've come into Art of Living, there's only been turbulence. There's only been turbulence in my life. And Gurudev said to me, so long as the water is flowing, it will continue to flow. But when there is turbulence, the dams will burst and flood the valleys. Digvijay, I've never been fearful of turbulence ever since. The understanding that before a big transformation has to happen, there will be shaking of the situation that is. And turbulence is just a window. It is just a door to what is happening on the other side of transformation. So in that conversation, Gurudev also looked at me and said, you should become a teacher. I liked him, so I shook my head. But this was not something I had on my mind. I never saw myself coming into a spiritual organization. I never saw myself sitting and teaching because when Rishi Nitya Pragya had come, I was sitting there at the back of the class. I liked him, but I was still judging him. And as a journalist, that's what I did. I judged, I assessed, and I wrote my articles. That was how my mind was framed. So this was the last thing that I had in my mind. But Gurudev said, become a teacher. So I found myself nodding. I came out, but my questions had not ended. I had so many questions about spiritual organizations. And we've read so much about the politics and the corruption in spiritual organizations. And then I met this amazing person called Dr. Eberhard from the German Ashram, who's been with Gurudev for a long time. And he said, now you can ask me any question that you want. And then I told him all the doubts that I had about spiritual organizations and the corruption and the money and the politics. And he said, Rugmani, something? We have a living master here. And the master is pure. So you can be rest assured that in this organization, you will always be safe. And Digvijay, that has been my experience for the last 23 years. The fact that Gurudev is so pure and Satyam Param Dhimahi. At the end of it, at the end of whatever confusion, whatever chaos there is, ultimately it is the truth that prevails. And that has never left me, despite all the challenges that each one of us face, just knowing that the master is pure and truth will always prevail.
Rugmaniji, when we were speaking on phone yesterday, you mentioned that I just said that we will be speaking about our journey on the path, and you said it's a choiceless path. What do you mean by it's a choiceless path?
It's a very romantic path, Digvijay. You agree?
Very true.
This is an extremely romantic path. And what happens is when you come into this path and your life is overwhelmed with the kind of love that you experience in this path, it impacts all your other heart relationships. A romantic relationship is not just a relationship between a man and a woman. It's a relationship with all the people that you love. Your family, your friends, your children. And between the romance of the Art of Living journey and the wisdom, you become very centered. And a lot of relationships are based on codependencies. You need somebody and they need you, or you need them and they need you to need them. So these are the kind of complexities and codependencies that are there in relationships of the heart. And when you come into this path, is that all that gets engulfed by this path, and you're not that available anymore for the people that you've had a heart relationship with. And that can be very, very painful for them. And I know that it impacted so many members of my family, people who love me so dearly. And at one point, they asked me, what has happened? What has happened to our life? And I looked at them and said, I don't have a choice anymore. Yeah, and there were tears. There was tears. I know my sister, we're very, very close. And she's the one who actually held space for me so that I could first go to the ashram. But after that, when I would come to Bangalore, I'd leave my children with her, leave my bags there, and disappear into the ashram. And I know how much it hurt her. And those days we ate meat, and before we came into Art of Living. And when I would go to her house, there would be meat on the table, but I would eat curd, rice, and beans, sabji, and my brother-in-law would walk up and down saying, what has happened to you? What are you getting on the other side that you're giving up all this that we're putting in front of you to eat? And he would walk up and down completely confused. He wouldn't even sit on the table to eat. He would say, what are you getting? What is it that's happening on the other side that you've given up all this? His whole world actually was food on this table. He loved his food. So he couldn't connect anymore. So there were so many relationships that were impacted when I came into this journey. And it's so beautiful when you have decided that there is no choice. Gurudev protects your devotion. And now when I look back, every person who at that point felt that they had lost me, all of them are on the path today. And all of them are so happy and so much, their lives are so much better than what it would have been if they had not come on this journey. I remember when I came into this path, we lived like urbanites, Prabhakji and I lived like urbanites. There were parties and social get-togethers and a lot of friends. And there was also a lot of spiritual shopping that we did. So we had a lot of people come over, do talks. We would put gadhas in our house and we would conduct meditations. And every other week there would be somebody else new. My heart was completely with Art of Living. And Prabhakarji took his own time to become a devotee. He always had so much respect for Gurudev, and he gave me complete freedom to do what I wanted to do because he saw I was so happy. But he took his own sweet time. And I remember Gurudev used to tell me at that point, his heart is here, but his mind doesn't know it as yet. And then Gurudev asked Prabhakarji to travel with him. And Prabhakarji traveled with Gurudev for 1 whole month towards the northeast and down. And Gurudev kept Prabhakarji next to him, except the time when Gurudev went to sleep. Right through the day, Prabhakarji would be with him, holding his asan, running with him. Even before he went to sleep, he would be there reading Yoga Vashishta to Gurudev, pressing his feet. Early in the morning, when Gurudev would wake up, Prabhakarji would be outside with a glass of hot water or milk in his hand. And after 1 month, Prabhakarji came back home. I remember him sitting in the corner of the sofa. He was like this. His voice was so soft. And he said, I've never felt this close to anybody in my life before. That hushed, overwhelming softness. I've never been this close to anybody in my life before. And that's what a guru is. It's unbelievable. What he's done for our family is unbelievable. Actually, I have one more guru story here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to? another experience, like Gurudev never stopped showing you how much he loves you. Okay, in another experience, true. In the early days, I'd come from Dubai to Bangalore for an advanced course, and we were in the old ashram then, and the advanced course is right through the day. And those days we would first go for dinner, and then go for satsang. So I hadn't eaten much that day, so I was pretty hungry. And at around 6:30, I went for dinner when I was told that a lot of people had come suddenly and the food was not enough, so they had to cook again. So we were told to go for satsang and come back for dinner. So I was sitting in satsang at the back, and I was hungry. I was missing my family, feeling very sorry for myself. Then suddenly there was a tap on my shoulder. When I looked, Bharat Bhaiya was there, Swami Brahmatej was there, and he had a little small glass with one vada and one puran poli. He said that he was with Gurudev in Shakti Kutir, and Gurudev was beginning to eat. When suddenly Gurudev stopped and he said, Rugmani is hungry. Take this food for her immediately. Then Bharat Bhaiya said, no, this is dinner time. She would have already eaten. And Gurudev said, no, she's not hungry. She's not eaten. She's hungry. Take it to her immediately. I took that glass, again closed my eyes, and I didn't stop crying that whole night. That's how much a guru loves you, and that's how much he feels your pain. And I thought to myself at that point that if he could feel my pain like this, the pain of a woman who actually I have so much in life, but my hunger that day, if my hunger he could feel, how much he must be feeling all over the world, the pains of so many people in so many different situations and circumstances. And that made me cry even more.
Yeah. So you did a lot of work in Dubai, and you mentioned how you started the Dubai chapter. Any experiences from those initial starting phase of Art of Living in Dubai?
Yes, it was very, very funny because I was very innocent and naive. I thought that whoever did Art of Living course, they practiced all the keys of Art of Living. After doing the course, I came to Dubai, so I actually never met anybody else who had done the course. I had no exposure to anybody else who had done the Art of Living course. So I assumed that you've done the Art of Living course, you automatically follow the keys of Art of Living, accept people and situations as they are, living in the present moment. Opposites are complementary. Do not be a football. Expectation reduces joy. That was life transformatory for me. So I thought that everybody followed all the knowledge. I just assumed people only lived knowledge. We didn't have another tribe that did not live it or posed challenges by not living it. I had no exposure to the organization. It was just me and the seva I had in front of me. And something, that was the best thing to have happened, because in a country like Dubai at that point, where this kind of spiritual knowledge was new, I don't think I would have been able to do it if I wasn't that grounded in knowledge. I was very clear. If there was a problem in front of me, I had no reference. I had nobody to ask. So I would open my manual, I would open my notes and say, okay, now I have to use this point, and I would use that point. It was very simple. And it gave me so much power to move ahead. And then knowledge has organizing power. So the amount of work that I was able to do, inspiring, managing home, raising small children, managing all my other relationships, the work that I was doing, as well as organizing courses, keeping volunteers intact, bringing teachers from outside, from different parts of the world to come and teach there. All that came from that innocence and naivety that I had at that point. So in the meantime, Gurudev had asked me to do my TTP. So went and did TTC, then TTC 1, TTC 2. But I hadn't really quite given up spiritual shopping, in the sense that we were still meeting other people being involved in this other discussions in Dubai, because it was a social thing. It wasn't really a spiritual journey. It was a social thing. Discussing spirituality was a very social experience for all of us. And interestingly, even before I came for TTC2, I actually went to the ashram of another well-known guru, and I had a lovely time there. And I said bye-bye to them, and I came for TTC2. So on the last day of TTC, we were all, Gurudev had come and he was talking about being on the path. And I was sitting right in front at his feet. And he was talking about the journey and our responsibility as a teacher. And suddenly he turned around, he looked into my eyes and said, now, enough spiritual shopping, okay? My God. I said, okay. And after that, I've not done any spiritual shopping. That was the last. This is it. This is my guru. And I am committed. I am wedded to that. Our home was like an ashram at that point. Follow-ups, knowledge sessions, satsang, seva, laughter. We had such a lot of fun, I can't tell you. A new chapter has its own flavor. I don't know if you've experienced that, but a new chapter where everyone's new in the knowledge, new in the experience of this incredible joy and happiness and energy that we were experiencing. It was very, very magical days. And we taught people from all nationalities and a lot of local Arabs also. I remember the head of the Quran committee coming into my course, and he participated in the course. It was a multinational course. And at the end of the course, he came up to me and said, Rugmani, the part I liked best? He said, right in the beginning, we went and met every person and said, I belong to you. So that for me was the most beautiful part of the course. Then in another experience, I'd gone to Bahrain and I was teaching the Part 1 course to a group of psychiatrists. And I was warned that they were very, very intellectual. So they had said that, keep the course also very intellectual. So I taught the course, went through the Sudarshan Kriya experience. I didn't keep a photograph of Gurudev there because I was told that just keep it intellectual, just cater to their intellect. So I left it at that. On the second last day of the course, one of the doctors asked me, who founded this? Where did this knowledge come from? So I said, it's a person called His Holiness Sri Ravishankar. Do you want to see his photograph? And they said, yes. So the next day when I came in, they came to me and said, have you brought the photograph of the person who founded it? So I gave them Gurudev's photograph. So they passed the photograph to every person sitting in the class. And when it came back, the last person came and kept it next to me, like we do now when we teach a course. We keep Gurudev's photo next to me. They kept it next to me like that's the place it was meant to be. So it was just miracles all the time. And then when I would come to Bangalore Ashram, I would see Gurudev doing advanced courses for people from different parts of India. So I went to Gurudev and said, Gurudev, can we do an advanced course for people from the Gulf? He said, yes. So that was such an incentive for us. So we would work the whole year to bring people to Bangalore or to the German ashram. And, after a year of working very hard, projects, courses, managing all this, after coming here, I realized how much access you have to Gurudev. All of us have to Gurudev. When you're living far away in a country like Dubai, where Gurudev hadn't come for many, many, many years, yeah? When you're living that far away and you don't see Gurudev and you get to see him only once a year, the longing that happens is something so beautiful. The pain is such a beautiful pain. And we would all start our journeys. I mean, we built it up for a whole year. We would start our journeys, pack our bags. We'd be talking about our journey, talking about Gurudev all the while, get into the flight, come, reach Bangalore, take cabs or whatever it was, reach the ashram, and then the time would come for us to see Gurudev, and then the tears would begin. That was the tears of longing. And it would not just be one of us or two of us. All of us would start crying before Gurudev would come. And Gurudev would come, he would pass, he would smile at us. Sometimes he would move on. But that was enough. That was all that we needed. And just seeing him filled us so completely, that was, even now when I look back, that was so incredibly beautiful. I think the greatest joy for a teacher is to bring students to see Gurudev. Yeah, it's through the year. When you teach a class and some of them connect and some of them stay with you, and you know that you're going to bring them to see Gurudev, and then finally the journey that you make to take them to see Gurudev, and when you look at their expression when they finally see Gurudev, I don't think there's any satisfaction greater than the satisfaction of taking your students and bringing them to the master. That for a teacher is the highest experience in my understanding. I have a Guru story here. Okay, so we used to come year after year after year, bringing students to meet the Gurudev, either here or in the German ashram, Bangalore or in the German ashram. And I had this concept in my head that Gurudev lives in your heart. And when everybody would stand up after meeting Gurudev and say, we want a photograph with you, I would think to myself, I really believe that Gurudev is in my heart. What did I need a photograph for? And I was so convinced about that. I was so content organizing for them to stand and meet Gurudev. And then I would come and stand in the side to make sure the photograph was taken. Then one day, one of my students told me, Rugmani, why don't you just come and stand in the picture? So I said, okay. So I stood in the picture. And later, when it wasn't digital then, when the picture came out, I wasn't in it. So I said, maybe this was some mistake. It was the wrong print, okay? And then this began to happen over and over and over again. For maybe 2 years, people would come to take a photograph with Gurudev. I would be invited to stand, by which time I was also a little curious about this. I would stand in the picture and the picture would not have me in it. So then I thought there must have been some mistake with the print. Maybe that was not the correct print. So the next time a photograph was taken, I went and stood in the photograph, and when the photograph came out, when the print came out, I was not in the picture. And this happened over and over again. It was bizarre. And then finally, one day, Kozem, one of my students, a very lovely person, and a great photographer, he said, Rukmini, come, let's take a picture with Gurudev. I said, no use, Kozem. My pictures don't come out. Then he went to Gurudev and he said, Gurudev says, no, Rukmini says that her picture doesn't come out with you. And Gurudev called me and he says, come, let's take a picture. And this is the picture. This is my first picture with Gurudev. And I hugged him so tight that I think he was embarrassed, but he smiled. Yeah, but this is a very, very precious picture for me.